Hello, my name is Emma Frid, and I am going to present the paper Music Creation by Example, which describes a project on a user interface paradigm for music generation for video. And this is a project that I worked on together with Celso Gomes and Zeyu at Adobe Research last summer. The idea to this project was based on the fact that there's an increased demand for music for short online videos, for example, for YouTube and TikTok. And finding music to your videos can actually be difficult or challenging due to copyright issues and limitations in search engines. In order to fit the duration of your music to your specific videos, you also need to have some level of audio editing expertise. And a possible solution to these problems could be to use AI music generation. So the idea of our project was to make music creation more accessible to video content creators, and especially to those who have little experience for making their own music for videos. So in the study, we present a user interface paradigm that allows users to input a song to an AI engine and then interactively regenerate and remix AI-generated music to a video. In this presentation, I will go through previous research that has inspired our work, and I will also define 3 pre-studies that we used to inform our design process. Then I will explain our prototype system and how we evaluated the system, and I will finish with a summary of conclusions. Our work is inspired by research on mixed initiative interaction, generative design, computational creativity, and algorithmic composition. And for those of you who are not familiar with these terms, I will just describe them briefly. So mixed initiative interactions are based on a flexible interaction strategy in which the human or computer contributes to what it is best suited for at the most appropriate time. So for music generation, this means that an AI tries to model the way a human composer thinks, whereas the HEI research focuses on designing interfaces that leverage off the human user to help execution of intelligent actions. Generative design considers the computer as a collaborative partner in a design process. So here the computer is capable of generating ideas and stimulating solutions. Computational creativity involves building software that can be considered to reflect human creative behavior. And finally, algorithmic composition is the creation of music through the use of algorithms. So this involves partial or total automation of music composition processes through the use of computers. Previous work on music generation has largely focused on autonomous generation. So little work has addressed issues related to human interaction and control in this context. There are some examples of music generation tools for video, but the idea of creating music based on an example or reference song has not been used in the context of video before. So creation or design by example as a concept has been used in other research fields before, such as in design and fabrication, but it has not yet been widely adopted in music. There are some systems that use similar strategies for music generation, such as the Morpheus system and the influence feature in IVA, which is a music generation software, but these are not for videos. So here is a schematic representation of the methodology of our work. We first conducted 3 pre-studies to inform the design of our system, and then we evaluated our prototype in 2 iterations or sessions. So in total, 104 video creators were involved in the loop or the design process for this project. To arrive at our design, we first distributed an online questionnaire to 30 video creators who made YouTube videos or vlogs. And this was done to better understand the user needs when adding music to videos. We then organized a brainstorming workshop with HEI researchers, and this allowed us to identify that we actually needed a better understanding of the workflow of our users. And it also helped us to get ideas for hypothetical design scenarios, which is something that we used in the next step of our pre-studies, which was another online survey with 60 video creators. And this survey focused on getting feedback on 3 design scenarios for our prototype system. And the scenarios were presented in the form of videos, and each scenario used a different input method for music generation. So the first scenario was music generation based on one example song. The second one was music generation based on a selection of example songs. And there was also a grid interface there that allowed for customization. And the third scenario had music generation based on humming or whistling a melody. We could draw the following conclusions from our pre-studies. The users' major challenges were related to finding appropriate music, to copyright, and to editing, and especially when it comes to editing duration and volume of the music. The users would benefit from having access to a larger library of music, better search tools with better labeling of music, and they also requested an all-in-one music and video editing tool. We also found that the users were not familiar with the term algorithmic music, and they had never used it. We also found that novice users were not particularly interested in adjusting all properties of the generated music. So they were mostly interested in higher level aspects of the music, and therefore they might benefit from providing examples or mood boards of songs that remind of the sound that they're striving for their video. The users also appeared to want to create music in collaboration with an AI, so they didn't want to leave all of the creative freedom to the computer or the AI system. And one possibility for customization could be provided through a grid-like interface that allows for mixing and matching of different aspects of several AI-generated tracks. So out of the 3 scenarios that we had in the last of the pre-studies, they preferred the one where you could input several songs and you could also customize the outcome. So finally, we arrived at the following design, which is what we call music creation by example. So as you can see in this figure, the user initially inputs an example song, and the song should have properties similar to the music that she or he wants to generate. Then the AI music engine creates a number of tracks, and they can be customized and selected based on user input. So there's a grid interface here, and the user can select different properties of different generated tracks and merge them together into a final song that they want to use for their video. So here is a schematic representation of the computer-generated music pipeline for a system. The system consists of an Electron app with a built-in IBM What's on Beat functionality for music generation. And IBM What's on Beat uses MIDI for music generation. And as you can see in this figure, there is a possibility to have human input at several stages of this music generation process. So first the user inputs the video, then the user specifies the reference song, and the AI system generates a bunch of tracks. Then the user can mix and match melody, pads, bass, and drums for the AI-generated tracks in a grid display. And then finally, the user can save the mix to the video timeline. So then we come to the second part of this flowchart, which is the evaluation sessions. And for this purpose, we recruited 12 participants from a large tech company, and they all had some video production experience. The participants were asked to complete the following task using our prototype system. The first task was to create music for a video based on one example song, and the second task was create a music for a video based on 2 example songs. The participants used Think Aloud when performing the tasks, and after the sessions, they filled out a questionnaire focusing on metrics that are frequently used when it comes to evaluating interactive systems. And this included metrics such as difficulty of the task, time required from the system, level of creative control provided by the system, and how enjoyable it was to interact with the system. We also conducted the interviews at the end of these sessions. Our results suggested that our prototype system succeeded in meeting user needs, and the system was perceived as easy and enjoyable to use. It required little time in terms of learning, and it produced satisfying musical outcomes. So after the feedback from these evaluation sessions, we made some changes in the functionality of the system and also in the graphical user interface. And this is what the system looked like after the modifications. And now I'm going to show you a short video of what the final design of the system looked like. So in order to gain insights about the possibilities and limitations of our system, we held two qualitative interview sessions or evaluation sessions with 2 experts in video production. And for this purpose, we used 18 guidelines for human AI interaction published by Amarshi et al. At CHI last year. We also asked these evaluators to compare our system to the existing music generation software AVA. So this was a comparative study. And AVA is a system that allows you to create music by defining a set of properties in a web interface. And these properties could be, for example, preset style, key signature, instrumentation, and duration, for example. And the system then generates the specified number of tracks according to selected parameters. And later, AVA actually implemented a feature that is very similar to music creation by example, which is called upload influence. And this allows you to input a MIDI file as an example. But this feature was not available when we conducted our study. So apart from comparing these 2 systems, we asked the evaluators to create a song for both of the systems, and we held interviews focusing on advantages and disadvantages of respective system. Both participants mentioned that they would want to provide more creative input to the system, and examples of features that they suggested to add to our system was adjustment of tempo, more instrument options, and volume mixing for different tracks. The evaluation based on the human AI interaction guidelines seemed to work really well, and we identified 3 areas of improvement in this context, and they were support for efficient dismissal. So this relates to making it easy to edit, refine, or recover when the AI system is wrong. The second one was scope services when in doubt, which relates to degrading the AI system's services when you're uncertain about what the goals of the users are. And finally, make clear why the system did what it did. So to conclude, we can identify 3 contributions to the field of HAI in our work. And the first one is a user interface paradigm for music creation informed by a user-centered design approach. The second one is a prototype system that has proven to successfully allow users to create songs in collaboration with an AI music system. And finally, the third one is insights and findings from user studies that can inform the design of mixed initiative interaction and research on human AI interaction in creative practice. Thank you.